What's going on, guys? It's Brandon back here again for another BFR. This video is going up a little bit later than I wanted. I was quite busy today, so I'm getting this BFR up at around 10:30 Central Time. So Game 3 versus the Montreal Canadiens in Montreal, the third game of the opening season road trip, started at 6 p.m. on October 14th, and the Hawks lose. They lose 3-2 after a late comeback push that just fell short. They go to 1-2. Their shots were 36-30 Montreal, hits were 19-14 Chicago, faceoffs were 31-12 Montreal. The Hawks have been awful in the faceoff draw. Power plays, Chicago goes 0 for 7. They are now 0 for 14 on the season. Montreal goes 0 for 2. To be fair, Montreal could have had 15 penalties. They had the most undisciplined game I might have ever seen in my entire life. Radish and Athanasiou were moved up the lineup because of the Taylor Hall injury. Taylor Hall was out and Reese Johnson was in. Taylor Hall is likely to be back for the game against Toronto this upcoming tomorrow, actually. Reese Johnson played his 100th game. Mrazek, once again being the hero, keeping them in the game, saves 33 out of 36. Montembeault played pretty well, 28 out of 30 saved. Let's go to the first period. Dickinson fell awkwardly early, and Kirby Dach fell on top of him, and so that kind of, he was limping. I thought it was like, I got really worried because it didn't look like he was going to be able to move since he was only skating on one skate. He would continue on the rest of the game. Team maybe just like rolled it at that moment, and then it was fine. Suzuki was denied. Mrazek dive and save. 16-28 Chicago penalty to Dickinson for slashing, which would be killed. 13-51 Montreal penalty to Gouli for hooking, which would be killed. And 12:36 Montreal penalty to Ylonen for high sticking, which would be killed as well. So it was 45 seconds of 5-on-3 and 5-on-4 for a minute 15. Doesn't matter, they can't get it done. Hawks were blocking a lot of shots. Harvey Pinard hits the post. Anderson's denied. Johnson is saved twice. Foligno is saved. Vlasic has a big hit on Caulfield, and then he levels him again, and he had possession of the puck. Anderson goes after him, and somehow at the end of it, at 8:46, Chicago penalties to Murphy and Anderson, both for roughing, but the Hawks get the extra one. Vlasic gets one for boarding. He wasn't near the boards. I mean, he was near the boards, but you didn't go into the boards when he was hit. There was enough space in between him and the boards that it wasn't boarding. Even Darren Pang on the announcement said, even announcers said, for what, when the penalty was called. Darren Pang, the Blackhawks analyst, was like, what the heck? But it was an awful call. Dickinson hit a big hit on Ylonen. Habs were flying. Evans to Harvey Pinard, shorthanded, was saved. The Montreal shorthanded was unbelievable. I've never seen a shorthanded unit so dominant over a power play unit. Reese Johnson had a big hit on Suzuki. Tenori sends Dach into the Hawks bench. Ylonen is saved. Bedard had multiple shots that were pretty far wide. Bedard didn't have the greatest game. 2:32 Montreal penalty to Suzuki for interference, which he was yapping about, but that would be killed off. We go to the second period where Athanasiou was saved, and 16:06 Montreal goal to Cole Caulfield. It's a backhander and right over Mrazek's shoulder for his second of the season, and all I can say is bravo. What a goal for Cole Caulfield. Josh Anderson with the assist to make it 1-0. And he backhanded, went around Korchinski and another dude, and then perfectly placed the backhander over Mrazek's shoulder, and it just trickled in. Mrazek couldn't get enough of it. Fantastic shot. And then Tenori had a big hit. Oh no, Tenori was hit big. Bedard shoots wide. Matheson is saved. Gallagher is saved. But then 12:04, it's a Montreal snipe goal. Tanner Pearson, and Mrazek just misses this one. His first of the season, first as a Canadian after coming over from Vancouver. It's from Gouli and Monahan, which makes it 2-0. 11:01 Montreal penalty to Harris for hooking, which would be killed. That was when Foligno was on a break. I thought it might have been a penalty shot. It was not. Harvey Pinard's shorthanded break was saved. Gouli then had a shorthanded break that was saved. Murphy had a big hit. 3:11 Montreal penalties to Savard for slashing. Dach was denied shorthanded. Refs miss interference on Habs. 2:22, however, it's a Montreal shorthanded breakaway goal for Sean Monahan. His first of the season from Harvey Pinard to make it 3-0 in the second period. And then they kill the rest of that penalty off, and I don't know why I didn't write killed next to it. Let me write that real quick. There we go. And then Price got a standing ovation during basically a commercial break. They came back, and Price was getting rounds of applause because he's basically at apparently every Habs game. So Bryce getting standing ovation just being on the Jumbotron, and that makes sense. It'd be like if Taser Kane was on the Jumbotron in Chicago. People would go nuts. Perry gets shoved, tackled, and then sucker punched in the face by Xhekaj. I don't know how Perry got a penalty for this. 22.3 seconds, Chicago and Montreal penalties, Perry for Chicago and Xhekaj for Montreal for roughing, so it'd be 4-on-4 for the remainder of the period. Perry just got abused, and he was not the same after that happened. Xhekaj just attacked him. He basically, first he shoved him into the boards, then he jumped on him, tackled him into the ice, pushed him into the ice. Perry gets up, is like, what the heck, and gives him a little shove, and Xhekaj just sucker punches him in the face, and Perry looks at him like, what the heck? And I don't know how Perry gets a penalty for that. I don't. Third period, 1925, Chicago opens up the period strong. It's a 4-on-4 goal. Tyler Johnson from his first of the season from Seth Jones and Radish to make it 3-1. And it was 4-on-4 for a minute and 38 seconds during that time to start the period, so Hawks get it off on a good start. 5:15:57, Montreal penalty to Matheson for slashing. Newhook is saved. Athanasiou goes flying. And then Perry is saved. He's cross-checked in the back by Savard, and he goes and he was down for a while. His head went very close, almost landed on the post, which could have been very dangerous. And Savard just kind of kept pushing him as he was down. And this leads to a scrum in the crease. Gooley throws a punch at Donato during it, and he was Donato was trying to stuff it in, and Gooley just sucker punched him in the head because why not? Reese Johnson has a break that's saved. And yeah, there were no penalties after that scrum, by the way, even though Perry got assaulted again and Donato was punched in the back of the head. 1:21, however, though, the Hawks pulled a goalie at 2 minutes, and at 1:21, it's a Chicago stuff-in 6-on-5 goal. Tyler Johnson with his second of the game from Perry and Bedard. Bedard keeps at a point a game, but the point streak is alive, and so is Perry. Perry is also at a point a game. 3-2, that makes it 3-2, so they're one goal away with 1:21 to go. Harris is saved, Caulfield is saved as the Mrazek gets pulled again at a minute. Perry is saved, Bedard is saved, and Bedard saves an empty netter, which leads to at 21.2 seconds a Montreal penalty to Monahan for high sticking. It's a double minor because Bedard's teeth are all bloody and you can see it. And that would be killed off. But during that penalty, Seth Jones hits the post with 6 seconds left. Different bounce, and that puck is in the back of the net, and we are tied, and we come back again in the third period. And if we go to overtime, somehow I feel like Montreal still wins the game, but we would have got a point out of it. And I think at this point, I'm going to be to start the season. I'm going to be rooting for the Hawks to win some games to show improvement, because they looked really bad for those first two periods. They were completely outplayed those first two periods, and honestly a majority of the third period as well, and they only lost by 1. Against a Canadiens team that's not supposed to be fantastic, but they kind of put the Maple Leafs on standby as they went up 2-0 and then 5-3 on them and still lost the game. But yeah, so speaking of Toronto, the Hawks play Toronto on Monday, and we'll see how that goes. Bedard got a lot of boos in for Hockey Night in Canada, and he loved it. He came off to the media and said he was loving it. But Taylor Hall should get a return as well. But yeah, until then, I want to thank you guys so much for watching. Sorry about this one going up a little late, and see you guys in the next one. Goodbye.